The 427th Annual Intergalactic Xenobiology Conference was going exactly as Dr. Kit Maxwell had expected. Boring, with a side of existential dread. He sat in the grand auditorium of Space Station Omega, surrounded by representatives of 300 different species, all of whom were trying very hard not to look terrified of each other. And that concludes my presentation on the predatory origins of the Vextari species, droned Professor Glicksnack, a towering insectoid whose mandibles clicked with every third word. As we can see, like every known spacefaring race, the Vextari evolved from apex predators who dominated their ecological niche. Kit stifled a yawn and glanced at his presentation notes. As the only human representative at the conference, he was scheduled to speak next. His research on human evolutionary history had seemed fascinating back on Earth, but after 3 days of listening to species after species describe their predatory origins, he was starting to feel like he'd brought a butter knife to a gunfight. Next up, announced the conference moderator, a floating crystalline being named MX-459, we have Dr. Kit Maxwell from Earth, presenting on human evolutionary history. As Kit made his way to the podium, he noticed a flutter of movement in the front row. A moth-like alien with iridescent wings and far too many eyes was frantically taking notes. The nameplate hovering above their seat identified him as Dr. Zedaralk. Thanks, everyone, Kit began, adjusting the universal translator. I know we're all eager to wrap up and get to the coffee break. Well, those of us who can drink coffee. And those of us who have mouths. He paused for laughter. None came. Right. So, humans. Interesting case study because, unlike every species we've heard about this week, we didn't evolve from apex predators. We actually, the auditorium erupted in chittering, buzzing, and various otherworldly sounds of disbelief. MX-459 crystalline structure flashed urgent patterns of red and blue. Order, order please, they chimed. Dr. Maxwell, are you suggesting that humans evolved from prey species? Kit scratched his head. Not exactly. We evolved alongside predators, really big ones, but we weren't exactly prey either. We were more like the annoying neighbors who kept borrowing tools and never giving them back. Dr. Zedaralk's wings began vibrating at an alarming frequency. Impossible. Every spacefaring species evolved from the dominant predator of their world. It's a universal constant. Yeah, about that. Kit pulled up his first slide, showing a timeline of Earth's history. See, Earth had lots of apex predators. Big ones. Like this fellow. The hologram displayed a Tyrannosaurus Rex in all its glory. Several delegates fainted, but that's not what we evolved from. That guy went extinct long before we showed up. Then there were these guys. The presentation switched to show various prehistoric predators: cave bears, saber-toothed cats, direwolves. We didn't evolve from them either. We just lived at the same time. Made some spears, invented fire, started wearing their fur because we thought it looked cool. The conference hall had gone deathly quiet. Even the ambient hum of life support systems seemed muted. MX-459's voice wavered. Are you saying your species survived in an environment with multiple apex predators? Oh yeah, Kit nodded enthusiastically. And not just survived, we thrived. See, while every other species was busy being the biggest and scariest thing on their planet, we were figuring out how to make pointy sticks and throw rocks really well. Dr. Zedaralk stood up, all 17 of their eyes wide with horror. But what about your predatory features? Your forward-facing eyes, your endurance capabilities, your pack-hunting behaviors? Those, Kit grinned, those aren't predatory features, they're survival features. We didn't get them from being predators. We got them from running away from predators, hunting alongside predators, and occasionally hunting predators when we got hungry enough. The hologram shifted again, showing early human settlements. By the time we figured out agriculture, most of Earth's megafauna was already extinct. Not because we hunted them all down, but because we were better at adapting to changing conditions. We weren't the strongest or the fastest or the biggest. We were just persistent. A crystalline chime cut through the silence. MX-459 had recovered enough to speak. Dr. Maxwell, are you suggesting that humans evolved not as predators, but as some sort of environmental pressure that caused the extinction of multiple apex predator species? Well, when you put it that way, it sounds bad, Kit shrugged. I prefer to think of it as creative problem solving. The conference erupted into chaos. Several species began emergency evacuation procedures. Dr. Zedaralk fainted, their wings twitching sporadically. The crystalline moderator was flashing so many colors they looked like a disco ball. As security drones tried to restore order, Kit's communicator buzzed. It was a message from the Galactic Council. Immediate investigation required. Remain where you are. Do not attempt to hunt anyone. Kit sighed and slumped back in his chair. He really should have stuck to his original presentation topic. Why humans keep plants as pets. At least that one only caused minor panic attacks. 3 days after what was now being called the Maxwell incident, Kit found himself in the most awkward elevator ride of his life. Dr. Zedark's wings were twitching nervously, casting shimmer patterns on the walls, while their third companion, PX-227, was doing their best to maintain a consistent shape. You know, Kit broke the silence. On Earth, we have this thing called elevator music. Is it used to warn others of your approach? Zedark's antennae quivered. No, it's just really boring music that makes awkward situations more awkward. Fascinating, burbled PX-227, who preferred to be called Pixie. Their gelatinous form rippled with interest. Humans intentionally increase social discomfort, adding to database of terrifying traits. The elevator doors opened to reveal the vast halls of the New York Museum of Natural History. The Galactic Council had demanded a thorough investigation of human evolution, and somehow Kit had been stuck playing tour guide to a nervous moth scientist and a sentient blob who took notes by absorbing data through osmosis. Right this way to the Hall of Human Origins, Kit gestured. Try not to panic at the mannequins. They're not real humans, just very convincing replicas that we make for fun because apparently that's another terrifying thing about us. Zedark's wings fluttered in distress. You create artificial versions of yourselves for entertainment. Wait until you hear about Halloween, Kit muttered under his breath. As they moved through the exhibits, Pixie oozed from display to display, absorbing information at an alarming rate. Query: these Australopithecus specimens. They coexisted with multiple apex predators. Oh yeah, Kit nodded. Lions, leopards, hyenas. Real party out there on the savannah. And these tools? Zedark pointed a trembling appendage at a display of early stone implements. They appear to be made from predator teeth and bones. Well, we had to use something to make our tools. And since the predators weren't using their bones anymore, Pixie rippled in what might have been horror. Clarification required. Are you suggesting early humans scavenged from apex predator remains? Scavenged, hunted, domesticated. We were pretty flexible about the whole predator-prey relationship thing. Kit paused at a display showing human migration patterns. See, that's what makes us different. Every other species evolved to be the biggest and baddest in their environment. We evolved to be adaptable. They moved into the Pleistocene exhibition, and Zedark actually screamed at the sight of a mounted megalodon jaw. Oh, that's nothing, Kit waved dismissively. Wait until you see the T-Rex. There's more. Zedark's voice had risen several octaves. So much more. See, Earth was like a greatest hits album of terrifying creatures. We had giant sharks in the oceans, massive predatory birds in the skies, and don't even get me started on the insects. You think your species is scary? We had dragonflies with 3-foot wingspans. Pixie had turned a concerning shade of green. Yet human civilization prospered. We thrived. Every time nature threw a new apex predator at us, we figured out a way around it. Couldn't outrun the predators? We invented endurance hunting. Couldn't outfight them? We made tools. Couldn't survive the cold? We stole their fur and took over their caves. But, Zedark was practically vibrating now. Every other species evolved through direct competition. The strongest survived. The apex predator became dominant. See, that's your problem right there, Kit said, stopping in front of a massive display showing human tool development through the ages. You all evolved to be the perfect predator in your environment. We evolved to be able to handle any environment. And any predator. Pixie had extended a pseudopod to absorb data from the display. Suddenly, their entire form shuddered. Alert, alert. This data suggests humans actively sought out predator encounters for sport. Oh yeah, some of us still do. We call it extreme sports now. Or hunting. Or Pokemon Go. That was apparently too much for Zedark, who fainted again, wings spread dramatically across the museum floor. As Kit helped him up, he noticed Pixie had connected to the museum's network and was transmitting data. Pixie, what are you doing? Standard research protocol. Transmitting findings to Galactic database. Kit's face fell. All of it? Affirmative. Including the section on human entertainment involving simulated predator encounters. And the data about humans keeping predator species as companions. And the historical records of humans deliberately entering predator territories for research purposes. Well, Kit sighed as alarms began blaring throughout the museum. At least I didn't show them the dinosaur movie collection. His communicator buzzed again. Another message from the Galactic Council. Emergency session convened. Galactic panic spreading. Human containment protocols under review. You know, Kit said to the unconscious Zedark and the now pale yellow Pixie, I'm starting to think I should have gone with my backup presentation. Why humans find baby predators cute. The museum's emergency containment fields activated, and Kit could hear the distant sound of panic spreading across the city. This was going to require a lot of paperwork. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was going about as well as Kit had expected. Which is to say, it was a complete disaster. The vast chamber of Space Station Omega's main hall was packed with representatives from every spacefaring species, most of whom were demanding immediate quarantine of the entire Sol system. Zedaralk sat next to Kit, wearing what appeared to be 17 pairs of sunglasses to avoid making eye contact with anyone. Pixie had spread themselves thin enough to hide behind a potted plant. Order, order. The chief counselor, a massive serpentine being named Xenobiology, coiled around their podium. We must address the human situation with rationality. Rationality, screeched a representative from the Hive Collective. They evolved alongside predators. They turn predators into companions. They simulate predator encounters for entertainment. To be fair, Kit stood up, we also dress our companion predators in cute outfits and give them silly names. The chamber erupted in fresh panic. Xenobiology's scales rippled in frustration. Dr. Maxwell, please refrain from making the situation worse. Sorry, it's a defense mechanism. We use humor to cope with stress. Another terrifying human trait, I'm sure. Suddenly, Zedaralk shot up from their seat, wings spread wide. Everyone, please, I've completed my analysis of the human evolutionary data. The chamber fell silent, partly out of interest and partly because no one had ever heard Zedaralk raise their voice before. We've been looking at this all wrong. Zedaralk's antennae twitched with excitement. Humans aren't apex predators. They're something far more impressive. They're ultimate survivors. Pixie oozed out from behind the plant. Clarification requested. Look at the data. Zedaralk projected a hologram of Earth's evolutionary timeline. Every other spacefaring species evolved by becoming the perfect predator in their environment. But humans, they evolved by surviving everything their environment threw at them. Kit grinned. Finally, someone gets it. They didn't need to become the strongest because they invented tools. They didn't need to be the fastest because they figured out endurance hunting. They didn't need natural weapons because they learned to use their environment as a weapon. The hologram shifted to show various human achievements throughout history. When the climate changed, they adapted. When predators threatened them, they adapted. When resources became scarce, they adapted. They didn't just survive alongside predators, they thrived despite them. Oh no, moaned someone in the back, they're worse than predators. They're innovators. Exactly. Zedaralk was practically bouncing now. While we were all evolving to be perfect at one thing, humans were evolving to be good enough at everything. They're not the galaxy's apex predator, they're the galaxy's ultimate generalist. Kit stood up again. You know, I've been trying to tell everyone this since my presentation. But somehow it sounds more scientific when said by someone with compound eyes. Xenobiology's scales had taken on a thoughtful pattern. So you're saying humans aren't a threat? Oh no, they're definitely a threat, Zedaralk corrected. But not because they want to hunt us. They're a threat because nothing in their evolutionary history has managed to stop them from doing whatever they set their minds to. Including, Kit added helpfully, making friends with species that originally tried to eat them. Pixie had fully emerged from behind the plant now. Query, is this why humans attempted to initiate social bonding with every species at the conference? Yep, we're basically friendship predators. We will literally befriend anything that stays still long enough. The chamber burst into discussion, but this time it was more curious than panicked. Xenobiology called for attention. After considering this new evidence, the Council has reached a decision. Earth will be classified as a Class 5 death world. That seems fair, Kit nodded. Not because of its predators, Xenobiology continued, but because it produced a species so adaptable that they turned their predators into pets, their survival instincts into sports, and their trauma into entertainment. We also made ice cream, Kit added. Just saying. Furthermore, Xenobiology's scales shimmered with what might have been amusement. We're implementing a new galactic regulation. All species must have at least one human friend to better understand these unusual creatures. Zedaralk's wings fluttered. I volunteer to continue studying human behavior. For science, of course. And I volunteer to continue documenting human adaptability, Pixie burbled, turning a pleased shade of pink. Great, Kit clapped his hands together. Who's up for movie night? I brought my collection of Jurassic Park films. The chamber emptied so quickly it set a new galactic record. 3 months later, Kit received tenure at the University of Mars, where he now teaches comparative xenobiology. Why humans are weird. Zedaralk's paper, Humans, the Species That Befriended Deathworld, became a galactic bestseller. And Pixie started the first Intergalactic Human Appreciation Society, which mainly involves watching nature documentaries and trying to understand why humans insist on climbing mountains, because they're there. As for the rest of the galaxy, they finally understood that humanity's greatest predator wasn't any ancient beast. It was boredom, and that, somehow, was the most terrifying revelation of all.